Maybe it's because I'm approaching 30 that now I don't know. Like, of course, I always knew 13 going on 30 was good, but maybe that's why I I more feel like it's good. I'm 22, so it's like 30 is the next milestone, really. So it's like, I mean, anyone would say, "Oh my God, you're 22. You have years ahead," which I do. But it's like, wow, it's just to think that yes, it's the next milestone. And what's crazy, which is the whole premise of 13 going on 30, is that you're so young and you idolize to be older. Only when you're older, it's not all it's cake up to be, and there's all these problems, and you realize that yeah. But the thing of the matter is, you know what this film makes me think is that you don't want your 30s to be kind of what happens to Jenna in this anyway, to face those kinds of problems where you're wondering, do you really have any real friends and all that kind of stuff. But you kind of want more your 30s to look like Sex and the City or something like that. Something more that's more like, oh my gosh, I have a hub. Or even there's that K drama as well called yeah, I think it's called 39. So you kind of want it to also you also want it to look like you also want it to look like that as well. Like, I think that there's a lot of fear, like generally the 30s, there's a lot of fear about turning 30 in general and approaching 30 when actually we shouldn't be afraid of 30 like it's this big thing, because people make it seem like turning 30 is like some kind of ancient thing when it's not. Like, it's literally like when you're 30, you're not even that old. Like, you're just more grown up. Like, do you know what I mean? But I know that with 30 going on 30, it's like even though you're 30, you still feel 13 or you still feel 12. I think it's crazy because I wonder when, because people always say, oh, when is it that you stop feeling like you're a young person, or when do you stop feeling like you're still a little child in a grown-up body? And the fact of the matter is a lot of people say that they hardly ever do stop. Like, you even hear old people say that they haven't really ever grown out of that, really. It's a thing that, like, they still see themselves as that young girl, and it just tells us that it's a thing you don't generally grow out of. I feel like you obviously just get more wiser, but you also don't really like change that mindset. You're still stuck in that time, and it can be so hard adjusting to life anyways, and you know, the whole concept of adulthood. And I realized that Vienna is the perfect song to use in a film such as this by Billy Joel, because like Vienna feels like, I don't know, I can't explain Vienna. It's like when you listen to it, it's like what's it called? It's like you're experiencing something, an existential crisis also. I've listened to Vienna so many times. I think Vienna kind of explains the feelings of doubt and like lostness, and feeling lost. And I think a type of song also that I play as well for myself when I'm having feelings of like, yeah, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm 22. It's like I also think of Rich Girl by by Daryl Hall and John Oates. I feel like them those that duo, they have such great like songs, like Sarah Smile and also Rich Girl. Of course, the way that they even tell this story is the fact of the matter that Jenna goes through the closet and it's like all of a sudden her eyes are open and she's back in her 13-year-old. She's back in her 30-year-old body as a 13-year-old in mind. So it's like she gets all the stories told about her. She gets these stories told to her about like the 30-year-old that she is. That she wonders, well, that's nothing like me. And it's also another thing that's so interesting because it's like, what would your younger person say to the person that you have formed to be? Like, exactly. I feel like the way that she is in the film, like as her 13-year-old self, she realizes a lot of these things are like really silly, and that then afterwards she obviously matures and she settles into being 30. Like, it's a thing where she just needed to adjust to it. 13 going on 30 also makes me think about 16 Wishes, which came out in 2010. and star Debbie Ryan, the Debbie Ryan, you know, the meme Debbie Ryan, the it girl. These are the it girl Debbie Ryan, but right, like that film as well, because obviously that film is about how she makes 16 wishes, all to in a way realize she didn't actually need the wishes. Like, I think obviously yes, however her happiness turns out to be short-lived as all her wishes start backfiring on her. Like, she realizes that she didn't actually need the wishes at all, which is crazy. And I feel like it has also, I guess, the same message of 13 going on 30. Like the thing of when, when Jenna was in the closet and she was like, oh my God, I just want to be 30. I want to be 30, 30, 30, 30, 30 and thriving. But then it's like she wished for it too soon. And then obviously it didn't turn out to be all that she wanted it to be. The fact of the matter is, why do like, I guess, male love interests always have to have a woman on the side? It's so weird. It's unnecessary also. It makes me obviously think about when I'm always talking about in defense of the other woman, because I've written about that before, but I just think it's weird, and it's also not necessary, because yeah, it's just the way the story's written, and I think it's weird. And as a as a writer myself, as somebody who writes stories, I don't think the other woman is necessary. Like, she should probably be taken out in the future, because if she's just gonna get used for the plot, then there's no use for her, basically. It's what, it's funny because not to even compare 13 going on 30 to the life list, because they don't they don't compare, but like, of course, the life list also had what was it had what's it called? Kyle. Sorry, so Kyle Allen, the guy who was playing Sophia Carson's love interest, it had him have have a woman on the side too. But it was a thing where like she could see that they were getting cozy. That Kyle Allen's character though was getting cozy with I think Sophia Carson's character was called Alex. But that, yeah, so she was getting cozy with her, and I'm just like, I think it's so weird. Like, generally, okay, Brad, yeah, I think it's unnecessary. And yeah, it's one of my gripes, I feel like, anyways, in cinema. And I don't know, like, it's annoying probably that I should say that, because I don't know, like, films need this. But then the thing of the matter is, actually probably what annoys me even more than, I guess, is that 13 Going on 30 came out in the 2000s, and to think that we haven't really moved on from that era of doing it. Like, generally they just love to have another woman in a story. They love it down. They're crazy about it. I just think it's weird. I think, another woman, because I guess that's what inspired me to write my other woman story was about Camilla from the days when Jones and the Six. That was my main thing. It was my main like push and motivation, which made me want to write about it. I was like, oh, I really didn't enjoy that, because for one thing I didn't enjoy was the fact that anyway Camilla had a baby, and I was like, well, that's even worse. Like, I was just like, she's the other woman, but she also has a child. She also has a child for the guy who's out here looking in other directions, and I just said, that's crazy. That's crazy. He actually has a whole kid. That's what I thought. It was really annoying. But obviously, no, as I said, so Final Girl 4 came out in 2004, and then we're in 2025 today, and it's still the same thing. Yeah, they haven't scrapped it, and yeah, and I guess that's why people say, oh yeah, if you want to see a change in cinema, you have to go out and make the stories that you want to make. So yeah. You basically have to do that. You have to go out and make your own stories, because that's the only way you're going to be able to see a change or see a ripple, or also create a trend as well, because obviously you're the person who will kickstart it, you're the person who will begin it. So it's like, I don't know, it makes me think like, that's what I mean. I'm like, they need me. But then I'm like, I don't ever see myself really as a filmmaker. More of a like, yes, more of like an author. But then I don't really know if the stories would necessarily reach cinema or not. But as I mean, I would never write a story that involved the other woman, because I just don't, I don't condone it. But no, and I never have. Like, so far, none of my stories have really ever been about, they've never been about having another woman on the side. Funny thing is, it's usually, I remember this story I was writing one time, it's usually pitting, what was it? Yes, it's usually more so what I sometimes do, which I probably have been inspired by, is the whole, the love triangle trope. I probably sometimes would get inspired from that, and that's how I would write stories. Like, basically, I would have the girl, like, I don't know, break up with her boyfriend, and then she would date somebody else, and then that would make the other guy jealous, and then that was kind of like the cliche, and that's what I would go for, basically. But there'd be no other woman, because I don't know, I've just never really liked the thing of well, anyways, putting two women against each other to fight one another for a man's affection, when it's like he generally doesn't want either of you. He's just having fun doing it, basically. So that's basically why I don't do that. You know who you can also think of again, as well, if we're talking on the subject again, and even I guess just on the subject of film, and then fighting going on 30, you could also think of Enchanted as well, and the fact that when what's her name? Oh yeah, when Giselle got to the place, obviously the guy, he had Nancy, and then, do you know what I mean? And Nancy was practically, she was well, I don't know, what was it? She was well seeped into their home, basically. She wasn't just, she wasn't just a passerby. She was actually, taking, is it Morgan? Yeah, she was taking Morgan to school and all of these things. She was practically, obviously, her stepmother, or I guess, yeah. And that's why they called her. They were saying that Nancy was her evil stepmom, but Nancy wasn't even what an evil stepmother would be. Like, it's very weird, but she was never, that's what I mean. I was like, she was never rude to Morgan. So I was like, what are you actually talking about? But anyways, as I said, yeah, he was really into Nancy. That's why Giselle sings that whole song, that's how you know. Yeah, that's how you know. Yeah, so that's the song. And then, yes, and because that song's about Nancy, and then it's by what, I guess it's by the end he realizes that he loves Giselle, and then, I guess, fine, it all works out. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes, most of the time, with the other woman's storyline, they don't let it work out for her. Basically, they just leave her in the lurch anyway, which is so weird. I think it's very odd, but basically that's what they do. They just have the other woman just come out of the picture, and we don't know what she's doing, and we don't know if she's happy. And then also, it's like, precisely, they don't care if she's happy or not, though, really. But I guess that's what's different, I guess, about Enchanted, is that Nancy does get a happy ending, because she ends up with Edward. Yeah, with Edward. So yeah, she ends up with him, and she gets her happy ending. So, and she deserves it. That's all we know. Because the thing is that, yes, she gets replaced, and then, they want us to know that the other woman can't be happy, but actually she can. And we said she deserves it after, standing by and letting somebody steal her man. Yeah, we said anyways. she deserves that much at least. This thing also, they want us to believe that Mark Ruffalo's not fine. I don't like, that doesn't register in me. But the thing of the matter is because his younger version of himself is like, but I guess they don't want us to get swept up in that anyways. That's what the whole point of the film is. Like, appearances don't matter, basically. Like, oh, they were saying Jenna was a nerd, this, that, and the third. That's why she invited the girls there to her party. But no, but they were making fun of her, and that's why they left the party because they thought it was boring, and they want us to believe that. But then Jenna, like, when she's older, she's seen as one of the popular girls, and she's 30 and she's sexy and she's all of these different things. So that's what they want us to believe. They're like, even if you've had a younger version of yourself that hasn't really been like, I don't know, didn't, but you will have your peak, basically, because they obviously do that with Matt's character also. Like, I guess they made it seem like Matt younger was like this nerdy guy, and then and then there comes Mark Ruffalo, and we're like, you should have liked Matt. You should have liked Matt back then. Like, you were being so weird and so caught up with the idea of popularity, but look at how cool he is. First of all, he's a photographer, and second, he's hot. Like, I don't know. I don't know, like, she missed the memo. And it's crazy. And it's even interesting because, of course, when Matt tells her what happens after she comes out of the closet, she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I guess it's supposed to explain, again, like how I mentioned about, it's supposed to explain how, the blackout thing, and it's supposed to explain more just how life can flash before your eyes. That's what I also think the whole closet thing is anyways. It's mostly mainly just supposed to be a metaphor, just as the fact that 1 minute you're 13 and 1 minute you're 30, basically. It's just as simple as that, really. That's the simplified version. And that obviously she says sorry because that doesn't sound like her at all. But yeah, and then I guess she didn't like the Jenna that they all told her that she was, basically. And yeah, that's completely normal though. So, and then obviously her 13-year-old self was the better version of herself. It's interesting because it just makes you wonder, like, yes, a lot of us need to, I don't know, we said go back to that version of ourselves. But I think, no, as in, you would just need to keep, I think the film just hints on the importance of regaining your youth and listening to your inner child, and all of that. Like, I think that's very important and fundamental in this film. Like, even when you get older, you shouldn't dismiss that. Like, I think the weirdest thing to me is that people will be like, oh yeah, I don't know, any kind of random age, right? They'll be like, okay, I'm 26. I don't know, I was gonna look for an example, but like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't play video games. But loads of people do, and video games are universal, and even though they're marketed for children, everyone plays video games. So, right, they make it seem like when you get older, you should, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's like, yes, you can be mature. It's funny. I feel like you can be immature and mature at the same time. Do you get it? There's a balance. There's like, why do you want to be mature and serious all the time and lose out on, lose out on the feelings of your inner child and the things that make you you? Do you know what I mean? I guess that's why Jenna even had to, in the film, basically, why she had to go back home, because she was having a hard time. Like, she was like, oh my gosh, 30's not all caked up to be, so I need to go back home. I want to also find my dream, my dollhouse, and I want to go back to that era of myself. And because she goes into the closet and she sits on the floor and she's kind of rocking there, but it's more of a thing where I guess you can see that she's comforting herself, basically. It's where she probably realizes she's been too hard on herself. And I think, yeah, I think that's very important. Like, we can't lose that. A society will tell you and want you to lose that part of yourself anyway. Yeah, I guess this is what I thought. Basically, rewatching 13 Going on 30 again as a 22-year-old, I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, like, I guess looking at it before, it was just me looking at it through, what's it called? I want to say a childish lens, but like, I guess, yes, because I guess for me, I was really just like, it's understandable because it's like you grow up as an adult, then you realize actually I've moved out of home, but it's very scary. And you're like, I guess that's also a fundamental scene in the film, anyways. Jenna's like, do you know what I mean? She gets overwhelmed, and then she obviously basically goes back home. And her parents find her in the closet, and it's like she hasn't, like, it's like she hasn't left, but obviously she had. And it's like, I don't know, it's like so life changing, because honestly it's like it makes you remember, like, think to yourself, no matter when you leave home or anything like that, you'll always go back home. Like, home will always be in your heart, and there'll always be things also that you cling to, especially like how she clinged to the dollhouse. You have something that you'll go back to. And it's funny because even now what I do is I definitely like to store stuff in boxes already, because it's, I guess, yes, it's me having a jump start on that, because I think yeah, it's memorabilia or whatever, what's the thing, or sentimental items. It's called me a hoarder, but no, it's, I think for me, yeah, it's about memories. And for me, I also think, as someone who doesn't remember anything, I need those things, basically. I need them to, like, actually exist and to be out in the atmosphere. Oh, and then something obviously that I encountered on my rewatch was that it was something I used to gloss over, but didn't sit well with me this time round, was that Jenna obviously just gets transported and ends up with Matt. And I didn't like how, I don't know, I guess, yes, it's the term why I use gloss is because it had the whole little spell magical thing. Then she opens back her eyes and she's in the closet, and then she comes out of the closet and she's like, oh my god, Maddie. And it's like, then they're together, and it's like, it would have been easier, I feel like. Maybe I don't know why I didn't like that scene, but this is what I'm talking about. I think it's probably to do with the fact of how I mentioned already, in general, just like the fact that, like, I think when you're younger you don't focus on like certain things. Like, I just mean sometimes that's why you have to rewatch movies again, because sometimes you encounter things that you don't always realize, and then you also then realize that there's parts that you may or may not like or enjoy. Like, I just feel like that was the main thing. And then I think obviously that can also link back to what I was saying about how definitely then, like, the time when I was talking about the other woman, right, in this whole episode, is that that's another discarding of the other woman. Like, basically it's just like, oh, that happens so quickly that we see Matt and Jenna get together that we're like, what even happens to Wendy? And the funny thing is, this is what I'm talking about again with a woman. Like, you guys would be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even remember her name. Like, does anyone remember the other woman's name? No, they never do. And they don't want you to remember her either. They don't want you to remember her either. But I remember her name. It's Wendy. Like, it's actually Wendy. And what do I remember? Because I recently watched it, maybe, but I would have remembered it anyway. This is the thing, because that's what I'm talking about. I said it's the discarding of her. She's used for the plot, but afterwards, when the two main people characters get together, nobody thinks about her again. No one thinks about her again. They're like, we're like, thank God she's gone. They're like, finally. But no, I'm like, dear me. yeah, we don't even know what she's doing. We don't know who, like, yeah, we don't know who she is. We don't know what she's doing. But that's why I said, I guess with Enchanted, I guess that's the only kind of, I feel like, yes, positive, use basically of the other woman, because, you know, she ends up with somebody. So it's not even to say that not even to say that, like the word that I used when I said discarded, I wouldn't really say that, of course. Yeah, not discarded. So I mean, like, Nancy, sorry, yeah, Nancy is not discarded. She ends up with her happy ending. And I guess, you know, that's basically what you want. You want the other woman to also get her happy ending. So hashtag other woman, other women, the other woman gets a happy ending too. That's a long hashtag, but I've just made it now. Like, I'm just saying, we need to just like speak it into existence, because it's very sad that she doesn't. She's always sidetracked. It's like, if we don't even want to bring up the royal family, but yes. But yes, we won't dive into that any further though. We will not dive into that any further, because if you know, you know. Charles, Camilla, and Diana. That's it. Number three names. That's all. So, and then I was gonna obviously, for wrap up now to the end, is that obviously the main message, no matter how you look at it, is patience, basically. Anyways, is that in due time you'll get where you need to be. You don't need to wish to be further in life. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. That's why I said that this movie is for the girls who can't wait to grow up. It's filmed for the girls who can't wait to grow up, because obviously we're just like, oh, I can't wait to be 30, but there's no need to rush. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why you need these type of films in cinema. Plus, you also just need to be like kind to yourself. I guess you need to say those messages to yourself without films, basically. This film helps with that, but I'm just saying in general, like, in due time you'll be where you need to be. And actually, to include the title, you'll be 30, flirty, and thriving. Thank you for listening.